Isn't this Soji's room? Question mark. The night we decided on heading north, Hijikata, Soma, and I snuck back into Edo. When we arrived at a civilian's house, Soma mentioned he was going to visit a friend of his, and he left us. However, I just think Soma was trying to be considerate by giving Hijikata some space. The person who welcomed us in was... my boy. I was wondering, are we gonna have to do the Soji Hijikata thing again? With giving the news about Kondo. I knew I recognized this room. It's too soon.
Good evening, Hijikata and Chizuru. Who would have thought you guys would ever come to visit me?
Should you be up this late? Just look at you.
I'm a little tired of sleeping alone, you know. At this rate, I'll never get a chance to shine again. Seems to me like it's time to join you guys.
The hell with that, you won't. What makes you think you could hold a sword with that body?
Aw, come on. Cut me some slack. I've been feeling great lately. So...
Suddenly Okita was crouched on the floor, coughing painfully with strained breaths. Are you alright, Okita? I rubbed his back to comfort him as he caught his breath. I'm distracted. Sorry, Toshi, my boy. My sick boy. At first glance, he may have looked to be improving, but upon closer inspection, he had lost a lot of weight, and it was almost painful to look at his thinning body. See? What did I tell you? Why don't you admit you're sick for once and take it easy? Okita bit his lips out of frustration, grimacing at the thought of admitting his weakness. He sighed deeply and closed his eyes before speaking. So, how's Kondo doing? Too busy to visit me again, is he? I flinched at his mention of Kondo, which caused my body to jolt unexpectedly. Hijikata, however, was unfazed by his question. Well, he is a daimyo now. He's a little preoccupied at the moment.
How's his shoulder doing? Isn't it tough for him to be up and about?
That was over half a year ago. He's fine. He may not be able to wield his sword, but... well, with his promotion, it's not like he's charging from the front lines anyway.
Spare me. You're bragging about his promotion like it's you out there, not him. But... that's good to hear. Kondo's okay, then.
Okita finally seemed to have eased down.
Why do we lie every time?
It looked as if Kondo's well-being was the only thing keeping Okita invested in his own health. But little did he know the truth about Kondo. Look, I promise I'll bring him next time. Just sit tight, you hear me?
Sure, I'll wait, but I'm not holding my breath. You've always been a bad liar, Hijikata.
Who the hell are you calling a liar? I've never lied to you about Kondo. The tone of their conversation sounded like one of their usual banter sessions, but... this was different, and both of them wore expressions that gleamed with nostalgia. I could understand now why someone may have felt inclined to step out. I began to gather that there was much for them to reminisce about, so I took the chance to sneak outside. Single tear drops down my cheek. A cool breeze of night air brushed against my cheeks, and I gazed toward stars twinkling in the clear sky. Tonight, it seemed, was the final farewell between Hijikata and Okita. This was a moment I needed to let them have on their own. Being an outside observer to the intimacy of their conversation told me this much, at least. My heart ached for them. Everyone left Edo for Kyoto only 4 years ago, tightly holding on to their hopes for the future. Huh? Who's this boy? Is this... oh my god, is that the guy who was with the Shinsengumi and then drew that painting of the Fury? Because he had long hair. We saw like a glimpse of him in a flashback, and I was like, man, he real pretty. Can't remember his name. Oh, speaking of beautiful boys, I realized last episode I forgot there was an encyclopedia entry for Sakamoto, and I saw it after the fact. And when I was going through here. Sakamoto. I need to go to Ryoma. Sakamoto. I'm like, no, I forgot about my boy. So, Sakamoto, a Ronin from Tosa who negotiated the alliance between Satsuma and Choshu for the purpose of overthrowing the Tokugawa shogunate. He played a crucial part in restoring imperial rule. Okay? That was bugging me, so I had to do that. I can't remember your name. In the middle of my contemplation, I thought I'd noticed Soma speaking to someone in the distance. He said he was planning to meet a friend in Edo, but could this be the person whom he was talking about?
Hey, are you sure about that? Aren't you the commander's acquaintance? You're already here, so why don't you just stop by and say hello?
I think I'll pass on that.
Why? This may be the last time we ever set foot in Edo.
Wasn't Kondo just arrested by some soldiers from the Imperial Army? I don't know what I'd say to Hijikata in a time like this, especially knowing what everyone's been through.
Soma's head was suddenly hung low, as the words from his conversant seemed to resonate painfully.
But you don't need to mince words.
What?
Just, tell them how you feel. Talk about what you've been up to, or what you've seen. Isn't that good enough?
Soma...
For a short while, Soma's acquaintance looked unsettled by the suggestion, staring at the ground uncomfortably. However, he exhaled deeply before speaking.
But I was never one of the warriors of the Shinsengumi. I just happened to be around when the group was established.
So why did you draw Serizawa as a fury on the woodblock print?
Chief of the Roshigumi, who introduced the water of life to the group when they later became the Shinsengumi. He was assassinated by Hijikata for his unruly behavior upon the Aizu's command.
If they didn't matter to you anymore, then you wouldn't go through the trouble of drawing that. It's not like it'd make you any money.
Well...
So are you absolutely sure that there's nothing you'd want to say to Hijikata, or Sanan, or Todo? Like, you're positive?
I heard him mention names of our warriors. Does this mean that this man was a friend of the Shinsengumi? Perhaps Soma was planning to meet him with the intention of bringing him over to our side. Whatever the case, Soma's acquaintance gave the impression that he was reluctant to be involved at all. I mean, I'm sure Soma knows what he's doing. So, for now, perhaps it was best that this was something I didn't need to bring to Hijikata. As I began to process this information...
Hey, Yukimura. Go inside and talk to Okita while you can.
Oh! Okay! After hearing Hijikata's instructions, I walked back to the house from the darkness. Don't make me say goodbye to him again. No! No! No, I don't wanna... Don't make me. After Okita and I exchanged a few words... Okay. Oh gosh. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Later, Soji. Don't trouble Dr. Matsumoto too much.
I never do. Guy's just a worrywart.
Always gotta be a smartass. Well, whatever. We'll be on our way soon.
Oh, what? Leaving already?
Good night, Okita. Please take care of yourself. My boy. I couldn't take it anymore. I rushed to say that to leave. Ah, no! Soji! Don't do it! I can't! Why? This is painful.
Hey, Chizuru, can I have a moment with you?
Oh, so close. He beckoned me with a gentle gesture, so I walked up to him. Is something wrong?
I know he won't say anything, but Hijikata looks rough. Are things on the front going to shit?
If I spoke carelessly, I could possibly have given up too much information. Information that could easily hurt Okita, so I fell silent.
Here's the rub. I don't like that man at all, and quite frankly, I couldn't give a rat's ass what happens to him. But I want you to be by his side. If he goes down, then the Shinsengumi goes down with him.
Yes, I understand.
Are we done here? Time to get going.
Hijikata peered in, and I bowed to Okita before walking. Aw, we got Soji's blessing to be with Toshi. My heart. Hijikata didn't ask a thing about what Okita and I talked about, and he began walking briskly ahead of me. Watching Hijikata make that promise to Okita a little earlier, the promise that he'd bring Kondo next time, it seemed as though the burden of that promise and the potential of it being unfulfilled weighed unheavily on him. Suddenly, Hijikata halted in his tracks.
Yukimura, go on ahead and leave Edo.
Huh? What do you mean? What do you plan on doing, Hijikata?
I'm going to drop by the Shogunate, and I'm personally asking them one more time to release Kondo.
You're going now? I thought we did everything that we could already.
Well, if we can't get results, then I can't say we've done everything we could.
But it's not safe for you to be in Edo for longer than you need to. The Imperial Army has been after us. They could turn up at any moment. If you get arrested just like Kondo was, then... Yesterday, Hijikata seemed caught up in his dejection, so much so that such a proposal was beyond expectation. Why would he be acting like this all of a sudden?
So, you're telling me to my face that this decision is a mistake?
Well, I'm not saying that.
Then what the hell is it? You got something to say, just say it.
Hijikata's veins were beginning to show in his face. I told him... does it... Toshi, why are so many of your options like the same thing? I guess, I don't know, I think stay strong sounds better than don't give up. He's like, what kind of weak sauce do you take me for? I guess either way, but I don't know. Stay strong implies that he is strong and he can continue to be strong, maybe? Instead of like, you've given up, don't give up. I just don't know with you. Please, Hijikata, I beg you, stay strong. You of all people should know what needs to be done at the moment. I was surprised to hear myself raise my voice towards him.
I decide on what I do. It's not your place to say.
I understand, but what are you going to do if you're arrested by the Imperial Army?
So what if I'm arrested? Sitting here and talking about the what-ifs isn't any better than taking action.
So you're going to let Inoue and Yamazaki's sacrifices go in vain?
What do you know?
Hijikata exploded, and even though it frightened me, I had to give my piece. Even I understand a little. I refused to let my convictions amount to nothing. My heart felt so heavy it was even painful to speak. Tears began to well in my eyes. I couldn't help it. I was there. I saw what Inoue and Yamazaki gave their lives for. I saw it with my own eyes. Both of them loved the Shinsengumi more than anything, and they trusted their commander. If either of them were witnessing what I am right now, it would crush them.
Crush them, huh?
At last, he seemed to let go of the tension, and his shoulders relaxed slightly as he looked into the distance.
Do you believe it to be the survivor's duty to carry on the will of the deceased?
Well, I think so. I mean, I felt like I was doing so in that very moment. The reason I couldn't back down, even if Hijikata felt compelled to yell at me, was because I knew Inoue and Yamazaki would have done the same.
Damn. Guess this means all I have to look forward to in life is shouldering more burdens till I die.
Hijikata. Oh, okay. I was wondering if I had picked a good option by this point.
Hey, sorry for yelling at you. You were right. You did know.
His smile looked melancholic, and I felt a dull pain in my heart.
There's no point in me being irrational when our situation is already grim, huh? Yeah, I guess it wouldn't look great if there's nowhere for the chief to go when he gets out eventually.
Oh. I realized that Hijikata had finally regained his composure, and I responded in kind by calming down. Hijikata? I know I told you to stay strong, but at the same time, please don't push yourself too hard. I've noticed you've been running around during both daytime and nighttime.
Where do you have all this time to show concern for every person you meet? Once we leave Edo, if you so much as collapse on the way out, I'm leaving your ass behind. Brace yourself.
Stop telling me to brace myself. Good grief. Oh, okay. I was happy that I got through to him, even if it was just a courteous gesture. I ran right behind him, doing my best to keep up with the swiftness of his pace. You know, you could be less of a dick and slow down a bit. Just saying.
Welcome back. Glad to see you guys are safe.
After leaving Okita, we had finally met up with Soma and Shimada, who were looking for us outside. Just then.
Commander, I need to speak with you immediately.
Soma looked frigid as he approached Hijikata nervously.
Please, let me petition for the clemency of both the Chief and Nomura. Surely the Shogunate doesn't want to let Chief just die either. If we work hard, I'm sure we can find other people who'll cooperate with us. So please.
Hijikata was staring down at Soma, whose head was bowed deeply out of respect, and he seemed to take Soma's suggestion into consideration.
You beat me to it. I was going to say the same thing. Commander! Then... Shimada, I have a favor to ask you. Take Yukimura and head to Edo first.
What?
We are going to continue our fight for Kondo's freedom. Your presence here is only a burden for us right now.
Hijikata had given me the same instructions earlier, albeit with a far more aggressive tone. But this time I could sense that Hijikata came to this conclusion after thoughtful consideration. I was so worried about him, of course, but there was nothing more I can argue.
This is an order from your commander. I'll be right behind you guys, so get out of here and stay sharp.
I could see Shimada biting his tongue, almost like he was swallowing his displeasure.
Understood, Commander.
He nodded firmly, then Hijikata looked towards me. There was nothing I could do aside from follow the orders given to me. Okay, well, I don't get the option to argue this time. Understood. Hijikata and Soma turned around, heading towards the direction from which we were just running. It was so like Hijikata to bear the burdens of many under his command. However, as I watched him saunter into the distance, I couldn't help but feel like this was the last time we would see each other. Hope not. We're not even through Chapter 2 yet. Suddenly, my heart sank. Please be safe, Hijikata. Holding these tender wishes close to heart, Shimada and I escaped Edo together. We met up with other shogunate troops sometime later in Ichikawa, and as remnants of the old feudal government, we decided to head to Nikko. Saito had been in Ichikawa for a while, but he'd left earlier for Aizu to oversee the Fury Corps. I worried about what would happen to Kondo, but perhaps because the situation seemed grim, none of us ever brought it up. Yeah. Makes sense. Oh boy. Hello, squeaky chair again. Good grief. I gotta just stop moving so much. Okay, well that was the end of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. I'll have to check the, ballooming situation again. Alright, let's take a look at that. It's got middling corruption and 30%. Hold on a second, I need to drink some water. Ugh, there we go. Hijikata took the first opportunity he could to begin visiting vassals to request urgent clemency for Kondo. He was busy day and night, hardly sleeping. Why do I bother telling him to rest? In the end, though, the former vassals were wary of upsetting the Imperial Army, and they refused or outright ignored Hijikata's pleas. What made matters worse was Soma's own petition for clemency resulted in his arrest! No! I was worried about that. Welp, at least he can be with Nomura, maybe? On April 11th, the head of the Satsuma domain met with an ambassador from the shogunate. As a result of these negotiations, Edo Castle was surrendered to the Imperial Army. But the war was not over. We left Edo in advance of the negotiations to meet up with the Denshu Company. Okay. I can't believe. Hijikata returned from his other engagements as we joined with the Denshu Company, and together we headed north. Saito had taken the main body of the Shinsengumi ahead to Aizu in order to keep an eye on the Fury Corps. We left Ichikawa and set off down the Nikko route to Aizu. We finally managed to meet up with some allied soldiers, but many of them looked at us with a strange mixture of curiosity and fear. It was unpleasant.
Hey, are those the Shinsengumi? The murderers? Yes, and I've heard rumors that they're savages. They kill men for no reason, even their comrades. Best not to make eye contact. You never know what might set them off.
It wasn't difficult to hear the gossip about us that had begun to travel the ranks.
They sound like a bunch of old wives spinning those stories. Want me to shut them up, sir? No. They want to talk, let them talk.
He sounded even more irritated than usual. Hijikata, are you alright? You don't look too well.
I'm fine.
He certainly didn't look it. His skin was a pale color, almost blue, and he looked as if he might collapse any moment. Marching during the day was hardly pleasant for a Fury. Kondo was clearly at the forefront of his mind. I had to admit, he did have good reason to be on edge. Yeah.
Excuse me, could you please let me pass? Oh, my apologies. Oops.
The heck? Someone was moving toward us from the back of the column, pushing his way through the rest of the marching soldiers. Who the heck is this guy? Stop with the boys! I got nothing left to give! What do you want from me, game? What do you want? Fine, you know what? You're getting nasally British voice, I don't care. I've had it. There's just too many of you. You have very nice eyes, by the way. Perfect tie color pick, because it just makes your eyes pop. I will give you that at least.
Hello, are you Hijikata? I've heard a great deal about you and the Shinsengumi.
Who the hell are you?
Oh, pardon my rudeness. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Keisuke Kaotori, the infantry magistrate. I command the Denshu Company.
An elected command position that presides over the Republic of Ezos infantry force? Something.
I'm sure I'll be talking with the Shinsengumi a great deal in the future. It's nice to meet you. Ha 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 ha.
He gave a friendly laugh and extended his right hand. It was peculiar, though. For a man who claimed to command the infantry, he looked more like the son of a wealthy merchant than a soldier. Hijikata stared down at the hand as if it were a week-old fish.
Oh, I forgot to take my gloves off.
He hurriedly plucked the glove off of his right hand and then thrust it toward Hijikata again.
What? You want money or something?
Oh, well, it's called shaking hands. You've never heard of it. It's how people greet one another in Europe.
Hijikata snorted under his breath and turned away. Fair. Otori left his hand out for a few moments longer before pulling his glove back on silently.
Do you have business with Hijikata?
Oh yes, that's right. I was hoping to hear some stories about Toba Fushimi from the commander of the Shinsengumi himself.
Sure you wouldn't rather hear some ridiculous rumor from a drunk soldier? Seems like everybody here loves to gossip.
Oh, I apologize for the men. We finished our training, but it appears military discipline hasn't quite caught on yet. At any rate, I came here to give you an overview of how our forces are being deployed. We've got 3,000 escaped soldiers from the former shogunate in the advance guard, main body, and rear guard. As the highest ranking officer here,
Wait. You're telling me you're in charge of all this?
Yes, I suppose that's true.
Hijikata looked as if he just swallowed something rotten. Can't blame him. He'd only just lost his chief, and now Otori was trying to force himself into Kondo's place. Oh, you're taking over from Kondo? Barf. No one, no matter how skilled, could replace his friend. Still, Otori seemed to have expected to be rebuffed, and continued, showing no sign of being put off by Hijikata's behavior.
The advance guard is made up mostly of men from the Kawana and Aizu domains. The rear guard, however, is composed of men from the New World Army.
Kawana Domain, a domain governed by Sadaki Matsudaira, the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner. It is a feudal domain owned by a branch of the Takagawa family. Sadaki is the brother of Katamori Matsudaira of the Aizu domain.
I am thinking of promoting you to Deputy Commander in order to lead the advance guard. What say you?
And a secondary position to a military troops commander. Hijikata served this role in the Denshu Company, as did Ito for the Shinsengumi. Huh, interesting. Why?
I don't have much actual combat experience. You do, so I figured you'd be a better fit for the job. Besides, there isn't anyone on our side or theirs who hasn't heard the name Toshizo Hijikata. I can't think of anyone better suited.
Otori's copious praise did nothing to thaw Hijikata. They just stared at one another for a few awkward moments. It was painfully obvious that the two of them didn't see eye to eye, and it could not have been a worse first impression. Welp.
Well then, I suppose I'd better be on my way. We'll talk later and go over some more in-depth plans.
Our conversation ended as one-sided as it had begun, and Otori disappeared into the swarm of marching soldiers. Capital. Later that night, we camped a short distance away from the rest of the force. Hey, Shimada, Yukimura, get over here. We need to talk. The main bulk of the Shinsengumi, as well as the Fury Corps, were headed to Aizu under Saito's command. That meant that the only people in camp were myself, Shimada, Hijikata, and about 10 other Shinsengumi. Remember what the infantry magistrate told us earlier. You mean about you taking command of the advance guard? Yeah. I've been thinking about what I want you guys to do. You can't be in the advance guard, so I'll have to send you off to fight with the main body or the rear guard. So, what does that mean? I assume you're going to take him up on his offer to lead. Yes. You were at Toba Fushimi. You'd be a good commander for men who've never seen a real battle. But... Hijikata's reasoning made sense, of course. But as an outside observer, it felt like Shimada had grown attached to the idea of fighting in the same unit as Hijikata. Perhaps Hijikata was insensitive for either ignoring the sentiment or not acknowledging it at all. Shimada sighed heavily, resigning into a period of deep thought, but then he looked Hijikata in the eye. Understood. Whatever you order me to do, I'll do. But first, I want you to tell me something. This doesn't mean you're planning to disband the Shinsengumi, does it? If I fight in this, I'll do it as a member of the Shinsengumi. Even if the Makoto flag isn't leading me into battle, it's still flying high in my heart. A kanji character used to mean integrity, which is used by the Shinsengumi as a symbol on their flag to define their core tenet. Are you alright with that? Shimada and I felt the same way, it seemed. Hijikata's hope may be flickering, but ours wasn't. Fine. Whatever. Hijikata seemed so disengaged. I should also point out that I think commanding soldiers is a little more than she can handle.
You want to put me in command of men? Excuse? What the heck?
She doesn't belong on the front line. She's a page, not a soldier. Anyways, I'll go tell the others what you've decided.
With that, he turned and jogged off toward the rest of the Shinsengumi. I'm just like, what? Don't put me on the front line, I'm gonna die! With that, he turned and jogged off toward the rest of the Shinsengumi soldiers. Hijikata and I were left alone. He sighed and his shoulders drooped. Suddenly, he looked very, very tired. Why did you try to order us away? He didn't answer. Instead, he tilted his head back to gaze up at the stars that speckled the night sky. The long, melancholy silence spoke volumes, but as I began to regret questioning his decision, he spoke up. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything at all. Was I putting pressure on his fragile emotional state, or was it a truth I needed him to answer?
If I knew Kondo was coming back, then I could go out there ready to give my life to win. But that's out of my hands now. Just like Yamazaki said, Kondo and I were the Shinsengumi. With him gone, there's no way in hell I can carry all this on my own.
Hijikata was often rude or cruel when he spoke to me, but I never heard him sound so defeated before. And he had never talked that way about the Shinsengumi. His shoulders sagged. Although his voice sounded completely devoid of energy, he continued.
Shinpachi was right, wasn't he?
Huh?
Remember what he said when we decided to go to Kofu Castle? He said there was no way in hell a Wanakami Katsu would give us money and weapons without some sort of hidden agenda. He was right. So was Harada. You know who just turned Edo Castle over to the Imperial Army? A Wanakami Katsu.
What? Then that meant the battle in Kofu had been...
He wanted to cozy up to the new government, but we would have made that tough, so he had to get rid of us.
Whoa.
Huh.
He gave a dry laugh and kicked despondently at a rock near his foot.
Damn it! How couldn't I see that coming? If I thought about it, that would have never slipped past me. I was desperate for Kondo to be off fighting big, important battles, winning himself all sorts of glory. But I let all of that blind me. We lost the war, and Kondo lost his spirit. All of that for nothing.
I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. The Shinsengumi had put their lives on the line for the shogunate. The shogun should have come to their aid. Instead, the Shinsengumi was abandoned, and because of that, we lost Kondo.
We busted our asses training until we earned our swords. Now every farmer and peasant from Choshu thinks he's a soldier because he has a gun. Aren't samurai supposed to be the masters of warfare? What the hell have we been fighting so hard for? Is anything I believed in still true? We believed something would be there for us at the end, so no matter how bad shit got, we just ground our teeth and climbed up that hill. It turns out this was just a goddamn hill with nothing for us at the top. What are we supposed to do now? What the hell am I supposed to believe in?
With every word he spoke, I could feel his pain. It had been Hijikata and Kondo's partnership that had allowed the Shinsengumi to flourish. But the shogunate had betrayed them. War changed, and now he felt the world moving on without him. All that Hijikata had done was fading away, and the pain of that loss was destroying him. What could I say to help lessen that pain? You have responsibilities. I believe in you.
I think you feel this way because you've lost what you believed in. But the men out there, the few that are left, I think what they believe in is you. They think that as long as you're there to lead them, they'll be fine, and they refuse to show fear in front of you. They want you to see the kind of men they are, which means they'll fight to the death if you tell them to.
I didn't know what else I could say to make him feel better, but I wanted to soothe his wounded soul at least a little. As much as I could, I said what I felt.
To be honest, I don't really know much about things like the reason the Shinsengumi exists or what you should believe in. But if somebody asked me why I was here, I think I'd say that it's because I believe in you, Hijikata. So,
Maybe that had been the wrong thing to say. He was worried about what he believed in, not me. All I'd done was probably give him yet another thing to worry about, more pressure. Hijikata turned to look at me, but for once, the light in his eyes was soft. Aww. He appreciated that girl.
You're right. If you lose sight of something, the only person who can find it again is you. Besides, we've got a big fight coming up. Guess I should be thinking about how we're going to win that, not whining about my problems.
With a small crooked smile, he turned back to the stars. Perhaps my words have been a little too harsh. Don't worry, girl. You did it. We fell silent again. The only sounds were nearby bugs chirping and fluttering in the night. I was worried saying anything would just make things worse.
Are you really gonna stick around?
I knew he wanted to go alone, but I couldn't go with Shimada, and we both knew it. Hijikata's eyes thinned, and he pondered for a moment as I stared idly to the side. Yes, I am. Perhaps I didn't know how I could help him just yet, but I could hardly leave him alone.
Fine. Just stay out of my way.
yes, I know.
We stood there in the silence of the night. Just then. Oh no, not again. Gah! He moaned suddenly and bent over in pain. Here we go again. Hijikata! In a matter of seconds, his hair began to turn white. Let's go over here. Gotta go hide in the bushes so nobody sees him sucking on my neck. I led him into the shadow of a large tree where the nearby soldiers wouldn't be able to see him. Assume the positions. Assume the positions! Well? Oh, hi.
Damn it! Why now?
He spoke through gritted teeth, and as I watched his breath become desperate, his breath became desperate gasps. Frustration fought with pain for dominance of his face as the bloodlust began to take hold. I decided to give him blood. Hijikata. I ran toward him, pulling at my collar to loosen it. Well, how lewd. He grasped my intent and grimaced. He took hold of me and pulled me roughly toward him. I felt a dull sting on the back of my neck and then the hot trickle of blood. Did he actually just bite this time? Then I felt his lips. Yep, here we go again. The quiet sound of his drinking filled my ears in the silence of the night. His warm breath came in pants across the back of my neck, but after a time I felt it begin to steady. Slowly, his grip loosened. I could sense the pain leaving his body. Well, thank goodness. Then, without a word, he pulled away from me. That was quick.
How long do you plan to keep letting me do this?
What? When he looked at me, I saw worry in his eyes. I smiled back.
Forever. As long as you need me, I'll be here.
You're a stupid girl, and I'm a man who's lost sight of what makes him human. How can you just let me cut you open like that and drink your blood? What the hell are you thinking?
It's all right, really. I want to do this.
There was nothing for him to say to that. Welp.